Hey everyone, Brenton Lengel here, and I am talking to you today because I have wanted to do a stream on Buddhism for a little while. A lot of people have been asking for it to explain my Buddhist beliefs, my Buddhist practice, and so what I'm going to do is talk with you guys a little bit about Buddhist philosophy. Now, what's very important to remember about this is I'm not trying to convert anyone here. Religion is very specific to people, and this will apply to you in a good way, whether you are a Buddhist or not. Because Buddhism is almost less of a religion and more of a philosophy itself, and Buddhist practice can be used and utilized by anyone. And it will work for anyone. You don't have to be a Buddhist for Buddhist practice to apply to you or to your life or to make things better for your loved ones. So if those of you, if you're not a Buddhist but you're interested in learning about it, this is a great way to kind of get your foot in the door, because there's a lot of stuff that's very difficult to understand for Westerners. And if you are a Buddhist and you're looking to understand more of the underlying philosophy, maybe you just got into it, and this is definitely the video for you. And also, just if you're looking to improve your life, to be happier, to be more successful, to deal with anxiety and depression especially. I've had to grapple with both of those things, and I have found, since becoming a Buddhist and since applying this practice to my life and this way of living and thinking to my life, things have gotten way better. So to start things out, I thought what I would do was I would talk a little bit about the Buddhist concept of the 10 worlds. Now, these 10 worlds exist in Buddhist cosmology in the sutras, and they were believed for a number of years by a number of Buddhist sects to be literal places that people could go or be reborn in. And in some ways they kind of are, but really what's best to think about with regard to the 10 world is that these are 10 life conditions that anyone can find themselves in, particularly the lower six, at any point in time, at any point of the day, depending upon how practiced they are in Buddhism or not at all, and also depending upon just their own external circumstances. So when I talk about these worlds, I don't literally mean there are like alternate dimensions living alongside each other. More, this is just where your head is at. So the first thing to understand is there are the 10 worlds. And the 10 worlds run the gamut from the lowest, which is hell, to the highest, which is Buddhahood. Now, hell is a condition, it's a life condition of total claustrophobic anxiety, fear, and suffering. When a person is in the life state of hell, they feel that they have very little freedom. They feel that they are at the mercy of forces that are larger than they are, and that their life is not really their own to control. Paradoxically, they can be very claustrophobic, and even like people who have extreme problems with hoarding oftentimes will find that they spend a lot of time in the hell life condition because they're always preparing for some sort of attack, some sort of punishment. They tend to fill up space that surrounds them. Also, you'll notice guys, when if they're really depressed and they're getting into that sort of fight or flight mode, they try to puff up, they try to get bigger, because again, the space around them is viewed as being threatening. The second world is the world of hungry ghosts. And this is a world or a mindset that is dominated by a insatiable or mostly insatiable craving. So the world of hungry ghosts, the thing that I can compare it most to is in its very extreme form, to a drug addict. Somebody who is constantly searching for that next hit, that next burst of pleasure, that next thing that you can add to yourself that will somehow make everything okay. But of course, you can't do that, because happiness cannot actually be reached by achieving goals or by satisfying your physical desires. It's not possible within humans. And so people who are constantly striving, billionaires is a good example, are stuck in the world of hungry ghosts because they're constantly trying to pull more money, more resources to themselves. that is a life condition that they will often find themselves in. Now, keep in mind, everyone can find themselves in these life conditions, and they can be particularly deep in these worlds or particularly shallow in these worlds. Hell, a lot of the time, like on like a minor end, it can be somebody who's dealing with a little bit of depression. On a most extreme end, it can be someone like who becomes a terrorist or a school shooter because of this huge amount of suffering that they're actually in, and because of like this sort of claustrophobic aggression. In very extreme cases, people who spend a lot of time in hell will develop the urge to destroy themselves and everything around them. So up from the world of hell, then you have the world of animals. The world of animals is ruled by instinct and the law of the jungle. And what's ironic about this is the time that I most strongly felt that I was seeing people very much in the world of animals was in a court of law while I was covering a trial. Because you'd think that that's like the most buttoned up, most like human and procedure driven environment. But if you look at the interactions between different people and kind of the power games that get played, it very much does begin to resemble like the law of the jungle. So people in the life state of animals, they tend to fawn over stronger beings. They tend to behave predatorily towards weaker beings. And you can even see this as for literal animals, where they're not thinking long term, and they're very invested in just themselves and their own ego, and satisfying, basically, of seeking pleasure and avoiding pain. It becomes like the whole thing for them. So then you go up from that to the world of the asuras. This is also sometimes called anger, though I think a better word for this world is actually arrogance. So the asuras in Buddhist and Hindu mythology, these are beings that are basically half gods or titans. They tend to they're not always malevolent, but they're basically very powerful, somewhat demonic looking beings. Like the closest thing from a Buddhist cosmology standpoint between a demon, a Christian demon could be considered an asura, but asuras, unlike a Christian demon, are not always evil. So within, how does this manifest in the life condition of the asuras, arrogance, anger, is that people in this life state, and I guarantee you've seen this, and I'm going to explain where it is, and you're going to go, of course, afterwards. These are people who have their ego begin to look beyond themselves, but the ego corrupts it. And they find themselves in like a very egotistical way where they will give off the appearance of having great moral or spiritual value, of being a very, very principled individual. But it's really like born out of a very selfish and scared place. People who are in this life state, and again, everybody goes through this. I have been in this life state. You have been in this life state. It's just a place where someone's head can be for a little while. Hopefully you don't run into somebody who's in this headspace too much, though, because essentially, like with this comes like the need to be superior in all things. It comes, to be the very best in a very negative kind of way. And so in very extreme cases, this can manifest as leftist purity spirals, where they tear down everyone and everything around them. Nothing is ever good enough for them. Someone that they have really like idolized does one thing wrong and suddenly, boom, they're canceled. That is really the world of anger. That's the world of the asuras, of arrogance. Think Salem witch trials as a very extreme example of that life condition. Then you have the world of the humans. Now, the world of the humans is very, very interesting because it is the only world in the lower six that actually has the potential to jump you into the upper four. So the lower six worlds are the six quote unquote evil paths, or the six lower, less important paths. What we have going on with regard to the world of the humans is that it's very important in Buddhism to understand that the good things, like a good, easy life of pleasure and desires being fulfilled, is viewed as bad. Like it is bad to be idle rich. It is bad to be privileged, essentially, to be more privileged than others in a really big way, because this doesn't give us the chance to develop. So when we look in at the other worlds, the worlds of hell, the people in hell are too miserable. The people in the realms of the hungry ghosts, they are too avaricious to think about anything more. The people in the life condition, the world of animals, are too dumb and too short-sighted. The Asuras are too arrogant and too ruled by their passions and their egos. And those in the sixth world, which is heaven, or the world of the Devas, are too happy. Heaven is the sixth realm. This is the realm of desire achieved. So for an extreme example, think if you were trying to get a promotion and trying, and you really, really want this, and boom, you get the promotion. And suddenly there's more money involved. You have achieved this major life goal. Everything is great for a couple of days. And then suddenly, you find yourself right back where you were in terms of your happiness and contentment. Or, to do another way, let's say you go and you take Molly and you feel amazing and you don't really have any serious desires because this drug is in your system and it's making you happy. It's triggering all those wonderful, happy emotions. All that great stuff is flowing into your brain. So this can be done, with drugs. It can be done simply by just being a person. Again, this is a life state that is inherent, but heaven is the realm of desire fulfilled. And it's very pleasurable to be in heaven, but it cannot be maintained. And once you have exhausted the heaven and the Deva world, you fall back down to the lower six worlds. Alan Watts talked about it, with regard to the fall of Rome and how Roman society became decadent, and that once they had fully explored pleasure and they had their prostitutes and their feasts and their and their orgies and everything, then it began to take on a darker character. The empire began to take on a darker characteristic, and you'd get sort of the extreme bloodlust of the Colosseum. Because, again, once you have explored pleasure, once you have done what you want and you get all the way to the end and you've exhausted that, you naturally will fall down to the lower six worlds. And so you essentially have the cycle of existence. Now, the world of the humans, as I said, is unique, because in Buddhism, the only beings that can become enlightened are humans, not gods, not asuras, not devas, if we believe in this, but humans, because humans, we are the rational creature. The realm of the humans is characterized by a sort of calm, tranquil ability to observe the world and to observe oneself and your place in it. And this realm is calm, but it's very, very difficult to maintain, even for humans who are in the human realm or in the world of humans all the time, because we literally are a human. But the actual human life condition is very, very hard. It's when people have those moments that they just sort of realize, like, is this all there is? I'm pretty happy right now, but I can see that my life is just going to feel like I'm going around in circles, that I'm stuck in a rut, and I just need to figure out a way out of it. And it is in the realm of the humans that the desire for enlightenment, for liberation, manifests. And from the realm of the humans, and only from the realm of the humans, can you jump up to the higher four worlds. So the first world is the world of the Shravaka, the voice hearers. This is a realm where you've sort of decided that you're going to want to flirt with the idea of waking up spiritually, intellectually, however you want to do it, to kind of see through the illusion of life and to really understand what life is and how to live the good life. So you start looking for a guru. You start looking for a teacher. Maybe you join a church. Maybe you you start reading philosophy. Maybe you go back to school. So in the world of the voice hearers, this is you just beginning your spiritual and emotional journey. Then you head up to the next world, the eighth world. This is the world of the Pratyeka Buddha. It's so hard to pronounce. This is the cause awakened. This is also the world of the private Buddha. Now, in Buddhist mythology and cosmology, the idea of a private Buddha is the idea of a Buddha that manifests and does not share their enlightenment, that someone wakes up, someone sees through the illusion to the actual reality that we're dealing with and keeps it to themselves. And in fact, Buddha Siddhartha Gautama, the first historical Buddha, in the story, he was for a time within this realm, and Mara, essentially the Buddhist devil, showed up to him and basically told him, you should just stay here. You're doing great. You've finally seen the light, but nobody's going to believe you. So why are you going to mess with this when things are so good for you right now? And it's not going to change anything if you tell anyone about it. So yeah, just hang out under this tree. It's fine. It's fine. So the private Buddha, again, is the Buddha that awakens, that reaches moksha, reaches enlightenment, reaches nirvana, but just stays there and doesn't tell anyone, doesn't share what they've done. This one is sort of compared to someone realizes that they've listened to all these teachers and they've sat at the feet of all these gurus and they've tried to find their answer, and they realize these people can't teach them the answer. Nobody can give it to you. So what they do is they then decide, I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to reach enlightenment through looking inwards. Since the outside world doesn't seem to have any answers here, maybe there's answers inside me. And so they look inside themselves, and they look and they look and they look, and they try to find that soul, that answer, that one thing somewhere deep within their psyche. But this realm is not the end. It's another step on your path, because once you've tried to look outside for answers, then you try to look inside for answers, and you realize that there are no answers outside and there are no answers inside. So then we get to the ninth realm. This is the world of the Bodhisattva. The Bodhisattva is the person who has gone through this whole process and has realized that there aren't answers from someone else, and there aren't answers from inside themselves, but they have attained a certain level of spiritual enlightenment, and by having these insights, they feel motivated by a great compassion to bring these insights to others, to make the world a better place. A bodhisattva, in a lot of ways, is a Buddha who returns. It's someone who has experienced nirvana, or at least a small amount of it. Satori is a term for it, or kensho, I think, is the Japanese term for what nirvana is. I need to do a video on nirvana so you guys can really understand this. But to understand what nirvana is, very, very briefly, you don't meditate on a mountain and then poof, disappear in a bunch of like light or something. It's not a magic world where you go for nothing to happen. Nirvana means blow out, as in blow out a candle, as in exhale. Because what happens when you try to hold your breath and never exhale? You can't. You find you have to let go. You have to be okay with impermanence you have to be okay with the trials and tribulations of life and the negative aspects of life, and not overly attached to the positive aspects of life to really truly enjoy life. Because the curse of man, and as we talked about with the realm of humans, is that man is the thinking animal. Man is the animal that thinks in time, that can look ahead into the future and realize, oh my God, I'm going to die. And we feel the teeth of the we wince before the teeth of the crocodile hits us. We die 1,000 deaths before we actually die because we know it's happening. We fear disease before any disease has ever entered into our body, and we obsess over it at times. All of the problems that come with being a man, with a part of mankind, with being the thinking animal, these are the problems that are dealt with by nirvana, by moksha, by enlightenment, by seeing through the game. So the bodhisattva, in the realm of the bodhisattva, is the person who has had a taste of this, who's realized the truth, but they also realize that there are others who haven't. And so they go on playing the human game, knowing that it's a game, knowing that what we're faced with is actually, it seems like it's very, very serious and dire, but in fact it is essentially playful, and that there's actually nothing to worry about. And so the bodhisattva returns to the world and proceeds to play the game of life vigorously and excitedly, and simultaneously to share what they have learned and to make the world a better place. This is the calling of the bodhisattva. This is the world of the bodhisattva. In Soka Gakkai, the members of Soka Gakkai, we are bodhisattvas of the earth. And we are called to spread the Lotus Sutra, to spread this calling to as many people as possible, because, and if I may borrow from Transformers, until all are one. So then finally we get to the 10th world, the world of Buddhahood. And this is a very difficult world to define because consciousness and the human mind makes it very, very difficult to be here. And if I could totally explain it to you right now, like exactly what the world of the Buddhahood is like and what this life condition is like, I would be a Buddha and you would be a Buddha too. But what I can say about it is that the life state of Buddhahood is a life state which is categorized by near infinite reserves of happiness and contentment and ability to take the misfortunes of life and to take the terrible things that happen to us into our bodies and mold them into such a way that you are more or less surfing on the waves of existence. People with the life state of Buddha, have been described as being able to withstand like torture and stuff. I don't know if it's really superpowers, but I do know that many Buddhas have been enlightened like in captivity. And in fact, Joshi Toda experienced an enlightening experience. He experienced Satori while he was... Joshi Toda, by the way, was the second president of Soka Gakkai. He experienced that while he was in prison after having been imprisoned by the Japanese emperor during World War II as a living god, for refusing to recognize the Japanese emperor as a living god. And so, he went in to that prison, someone who tended to spend a lot of time in the lower worlds, or perhaps at best in the life state of bodhisattva, and he came out in the life state of Buddha. Now, the thing about these life states, it's all psychological. But what's important to understand about it being all psychological is that what we experience from day to day, moment to moment in our own lives is a creation of our mind. Your brain hallucinates reality into being. And there have been TED Talks on this. Like, there's a great one, Google, like, do we see reality as it is? And you learn that organisms are, in fact, not favored. Natural selection does not favor organisms that experience reality directly. Rather, evolution favors organisms that experience reality in a way that is most convenient for our survival and or reproduction. And so what we see in the regard to reality is the same thing as like what we see when we look at a computer screen, in that the computer screen is not the computer itself. It is simply the interface with which we reference the computer. Similarly, the reality that we experience is not actual reality. It is our interface with actual reality. Doesn't mean that you should, go jump in front of a bus because this isn't reality, because it's the same thing. You don't go and drive, you don't drag your computer's hardware, like hard drive, into the trash, because again, like, I don't know enough about computers to know if that would actually do something, and I'm never going to try that. But the point is that like the interface is real. It's just not actually real. It's not material. So in the sense of these worlds that we find ourselves in, it can often feel like when we are in these worlds that is the real world, and it is. So if you've ever had somebody be like really depressed and you go up to them and you say, hey, just cheer up, don't be anxious, to somebody having an anxiety attack. Or if you've ever been the type of person who's tried like psychoactive drugs, you'll know that like if you're having a hallucination, it's still real to you while you're having that hallucination, and simply knowing that it's fake and that you took a drug is not really helpful, because that's not what you're going through right then is still happening to you. You still experience it. So the way you can apply these 10 worlds and 10 life conditions to your life, in a number of ways, is to realize a very important doctrine within Buddhism, which is Icinen Sanzen, which is that all 10 worlds, it means 30,000 realms, or 3,000 realms within a single instant of life. And that number is calculated using like the three worlds, the sort of using the threefold world, 3D world, where we are, and like multiplying that through a number of other different things, but also adding in all 10 worlds, and each of the 10 worlds containing within itself the other 9. So even when you're in hell, the Buddha realm is there. And even when you're in the Hungry Ghost, the Buddha realm is there. And when you're in heaven, the Buddha realm is there. All these, reality is not just what you think it is at all times. And so when you're sitting there depressed and you're like, of course I'm depressed. I have so many things to be depressed about. You look at the world, look at everything around you, look at what's happening here. It's awful. It's terrible. And it's true, but it's not the whole truth. And just as easily as you can get trapped in a low life condition, you can move from a low life condition into a higher life condition. And so like what's important to remember as you're going through life and you're dealing with really serious, horrible things, is to breathe out, exhale, and remember that this too shall pass. Because if you are not on the process to becoming enlightened, if you're not on the way to waking up, still you're going to continuously be moving around the lower 6 worlds. And some of those worlds are crappy, some are much better, and that there is actually an exit strategy, which is to transcend the discords of your life and the discords of people's lives, and to seek something better. The thing that philosophy and religion have been reaching for centuries, that humans have been going after, from the very beginning, that we became the thinking creature and we started to recognize the inherent problem of our lives and the lack of meaning that we find in the universe and all of this. All of this can be found, the answers that people are looking for. They can be found not from another source necessarily, or even necessarily just from themselves, but from the process of Buddhist practice and the application of Buddhist philosophy. And if you make that journey, if you do that difficult emotional work, you will find that as you do it and as you raise your life condition and become more mindful and more conscious of where you are, you will find your life will get better. And you will find that eventually, as you continue down this path, and this is where the aspect of faith comes in, that there is a solution at the end of this journey, because and the fact is that the solution, the realm of the Buddhahood, was with you all along. It was never not with you. It's not something that can be earned because you actually already possess it. It's not something that can be lost or destroyed. It is just something that can be forgotten about and can be overlooked and ignored. Because Alan Watts talks about this. He says ignorance should be, in this sense, called ignorance, and our tendency to ignore these specific states of life based upon where we are. So, to review, that was the 10 worlds. It is a core concept in Mahayana Buddhist philosophy, and a really cool thing to think about also just in terms of Buddhist mythology and cosmology. I love the idea, like the 10 worlds, making me think of like, Inuyasha and a lot of the really cool animes that I've been into like over the years. So yeah, that's that. And then we have the concept of Icinen Sanzen, which is the mutual possession of all 10 worlds. Now, I'm going to talk next time that I do a Buddhism stream. I'm going to talk about enlightenment, nirvana, and I'm also going to talk about, what a Buddha is. So, stay tuned for this. And if you want to see more of these, please let me know. I am going to make more of these one way or another, but if people are asking for them, I'm more likely to find the time and the motivation to do these. So, yeah, smash that like button. Give this, give me a subscribe if you can. I'm really excited with where the channel is going. We got less than 200 followers to reach 1,000, which is my goal. I want to get to 1,000 before the end of the month of August, and once I do, we'll be doing another poetry reading for the channel. So thank you guys so much. That was the 10 worlds. This has been Buddhist Philosophy 101, and I'm Brenton Lengel. You guys have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you on the flip side.